The best story in hockey this year is happening in Florida. It's about a team in the NHL's backwaters with geography and weather and so many more things stacked against it and making it work.
Hard to build a following, especially in a non-traditional market like this where hockey is not a natural sport. We're in the tropics. I mean, it doesn't get below 80 in December. There is no ice, unless it's in your drink. So you need to win.
The team had performed so poorly that we were basically irrelevant. And that's worse than being not liked. People just didn't really care or know about the Panthers.
I love Canada, I love my Canadian friends, but Montreal and Toronto don't have to put a great product on the ice to fill the building. To be relevant in South Florida, you have to have a compelling product on the ice. Historically, this franchise just has not delivered that stability and that winning.
There's not many games been sold out, only when we play very, very popular teams. And there's half of the fans cheering for the other teams.
It definitely makes it easier to kind of fly under the radar and be a good player and not have to deal with all the outside pressures. Whenever we go to Toronto, you almost cringe a little bit. Like after a morning skate, you got 30 people and they're all trying to actually nudge each other to get a spot. It's kind of crazy.
Last year they had the most improved record. This year they won the Atlantic. But how? Why? And of all places, here, it all started with the Who. Dale Talon is the architect who transformed the Chicago Blackhawks into the powerhouse they are today. And he's using that same blueprint to rebuild in South Florida.
What I saw was that they would draft well and then have to move those players because they couldn't afford to keep them because attendance wasn't great and they were losing a lot of money. And so it was a vicious cycle. You draft well, and then all of a sudden you can't keep them, and then it's just a revolving door. So you had to change that cycle.
You talk about turning points with the Florida Panthers, that is one of the major ones, because they said we need to get a hockey guy in here who's done it. Obviously, Dale Talon's past was with Chicago, and his fingerprints are all over that Blackhawks team, which won the Stanley Cup a few weeks after Dale took the job here in Florida.
In today's game, with the very hard cap, you can't spend your way out of troubles. You just can't do it. So you really have to build through the draft and be patient. And I think that's been our key is draft good players, play them, be patient with them.
Well, there's only three ways you can build a team. Obviously, draft well, mentor well, develop, and then trades. You have to be bad before you can be really good, and you have to be very patient. And there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears involved in the first part of it.
The blueprint is based around draft. Build through the draft, cultivate your players. He's been able to build this team the way he wanted to build it through the draft. You look at his first draft, he brings in a big kid, Eric Branson. He gets Nick Bjugstad in that draft. His first draft in 2010, he trades Nathan Horton away because Nathan Horton said he didn't want to be here. Dale Talon said, fine, you don't want to be here, we will get rid of you. And he brought in kids who wanted to be part of this.
Kids like Jonathan Huberdeau in 2011, Alexander Barkov in 2013, Aaron Ekblad in 2014. Talon created a pool of promising young talent. Now he needed someone to show them how good they can be.
Dale Talon had heard that Jágr wasn't happy in New Jersey, wasn't happy with the minutes he was getting there, wasn't happy with his role, and Dale swung a deal very quickly. And I don't think he knew exactly the impact that Jágr would have on the Florida Panthers. When Jágr got here, these kids were following him around like little puppies. It was fun to watch.
He took some guys under his wing and made them into elite players, and they now expect a lot out of themselves and put the work in to get the job done.
Those young guys, they've been drafted here, very talented, plus with more games, they're gonna get more experience and they're gonna get better.
Huberdeau and Barkov really took off when he came to our team last year. Every day in practice, Jágr goes out there and works hard. And when kids see that, they said this is one of the best players of all time. I mean, he's 44 years of age. He's still in great shape, and he does it every night.
He talks to us, about the game a lot, and I think he's been through a lot of generation in the NHL, and I think we've seen it all, and I think you can learn so much from him.
My contract sucks. That's what the problem is. It's been an emotional ride. You try not to think about, but you do sometimes, and I'm human, and sometimes it gets to you.
In 2014, Talon brought Roberto Luongo back to Florida, striking a deal for a contract many thought was untradeable.
First of all, he wanted to be here badly. You know, that's the number one. Do you want to be here and you want to win and do you want to play, or do you want to come to Florida and retire and just sort of play it out?
I just didn't want to come back to a team where, you're just trying to save money and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to make sure that the owners were committed to winning and to doing whatever it takes.
Vinny and I made a commitment when we bought this team that we would put a certain amount of money in. I'm not going to tell anybody what the amount of money was, but we wanted to be here for the long term. Our goal every year is to win the Stanley Cup. If we don't win the Stanley Cup, we have not succeeded as an organization, period, end of story.
Team is going nowhere. They're sellers at the deadline, and all of a sudden the blockbuster comes down. The Panthers have acquired Roberto Luongo, and I think that showed a lot of people, wow, they're serious here.
We got Lou. Obviously, things weren't good in Vancouver. It didn't really go good with him and the coach there, so things didn't work out. He come here, it's a different atmosphere. Lou was a captain in Vancouver for a reason. He's a great leader and great for our team.
Keeps my plus minus up. No, I mean, I know when I make a mistake that I got Roberto behind me, a weathered veteran.
Yale has built a core of players that we believe can compete for a number of years. So not a team built just to try and get in once to the playoffs.
That was the message when I first came here, that if we're going to continue to do the same thing as we always have, I didn't want any part of it. And, you have to really be willing to accept criticism and really willing to accept to be at the bottom, to rebuild, to get back and start from the ground up, and that's what we've been able to do.
There's guys that have won and are still hungry, and there are guys that haven't won. There's young guys like myself who are just chomping at the bit to be a part of something great. We're right there, right on the cusp of it, and we know we can do great things. We got some unbelievable players that do spectacular things on a nightly basis.